One of the things that we do at ProService Builders is emergency response, and this project that we're at today is a great example of ProService Builders' quick emergency response. It's a textbook company here in Little Rock, Arkansas, gotextbook.com, one of the largest textbook companies in the country. And one of their busiest times of year is right around Christmas. And on Christmas Day, I've received a phone call from their CFO, Matt Summit, and they had about this much water in this building that we're standing in right now. And so a big part of what our service is to immediately respond, do what we would call a triage, figure out kind of a basic approach. And the easiest way for me to show you kind of what we do is just to do a tour of this building. If you look into this main area of the building, there's 3 or 5 water line breaks at the top part of the building, and this is a 2-story building, and so it was under pressure, so it all came down here and was literally flowing out like a river out to the other building, which was also damaged. This building is about 37,000 square feet. The building next door is about 18,000 square feet. One of the first things that we do is just to kind of assess the safety of the situation. This is the epicenter of this loss. It's right here in the main building. Water's literally coming down. It's 3 to 4 inches deep, and we sent a team of 3 to 5 people out to just kind of assess the situation. When we have a large loss, one of the first things you want to do is to stabilize the situation. In this particular case, the owner had turned off the water, which of course is a great thing. But then we got to figure out, okay, what is safe to go in, because everything is wet. There's electricity everywhere. We need to figure out, okay, is it safe to get in and work to start our cleanup and extraction process? In this particular room, what we did is we had an electrician on site. The owner had a maintenance agreement with an electrical contractor. So they went through with our team to make sure that everything was safe. And then we started the extraction. There was so much water, we had multiple truck-mounted extractors out in the parking lot. We're literally just like sucking water out. So that was step 1. Step 2 is to remove what we call all the low-hanging fruit. So this is ceiling tiles that have fallen in, sheetrock that is just sopping wet. So we had a crew of about, I think, 15 or 20 men on site, in addition, as part of our team, to get in and clean all this up. The cleanup itself was probably at least 2 weeks. And then after it's cleaned up, then we have to go through and establish a drying goal. It's a big thing in mitigation is to figure out, okay, what level do we need to do to dry this building down, the slab, the wall cavities, everything else, to make sure that it can get to a buildable state to do repairs. The drying goal is going to be different on every single job. You want about a 0.08, 0.12 moisture reading in slab and wall cavities. I mean, sheetrock, metal, wood, they all have different, concrete has different drying goals. What you see over there is what we would call a flood cut. And so a flood cut is typically about 24 inches. But in this case, the water was in the walls, so we took it up to here. But you see a flood cut all the way over. And even today, 2 months later, we still need to get back down in this, before we do repairs, into this cavity down here to make sure that there's no moisture, mold, things like that. At this point, what we're seeing is we've removed all the wet ceiling tiles, we've dried the facility, and then we've applied a mildewcide to catch any residual mold, mildew, organic growth of that kind. Anytime water gets in insulation, it's got to be removed. So we've cut the insulation. Now once we go back to do the repairs, we'll probably either patch that in or put new, like over in here. You can see the main core area of the building is where most of the water was. And so we just kind of have a grid process of going through the building over and over and over with moisture meters, moisture readings, and our mitigation team. This is a break room area. The walls got back into the break room and back in the bathroom areas. As you can see, we're still on the ground floor, which took the majority of the water. Water got all the way down into the elevator pit, so we had to suck water out of there. There's mold growing in all these walls. One of the reasons we focused on the core is because if water sits in the walls and it gets behind, like in this case, there was tile walls, so there's sheetrock behind the tile. And so the water got behind the tile and there's mold all in the walls. If you get mold on the walls, it can eventually contaminate your whole building. So you've got to get it out and fumigate it down to and remediate the mold to a point where the building can have a clean bill of health and we can do the repairs. So the water got all in their corporate fitness area. We had to pull the water fountains because again, water's getting back in these areas, back in the duct chase. There it is. And they had a new service put in. What happened on Christmas Day is one of the breaks was in this room here and the water pressure just shot into this electrical panel and just damaged it, fried the whole thing. So the water came all the way down through this connection from the bigger building into the smaller building. And the water went all throughout the 17,000 square foot building. One of the things that happened was there was this particular client had come in and renovated this when they bought the building back in September. And so they had some new carpet squares and they just painted this when it all was flooded. So the carpet squares were put over on original asbestos tile and black mastic, which is glue, floor glue that was used when this building was built in the 50s. So, but the water got up under everything. So because the water got up under everything, we had to do an asbestos abatement throughout the whole building to get the asbestos up out of here. Because the water, and now we're going to go back and we're going to dry the slab down to a level where we can put new floor covering back in. When you're dealing with an older building, asbestos and other elements that get destroyed have to be abated and removed in a safe and legal manner so that we can do the repair work. There's liabilities for the insurance company involved in insuring an older building like this. With asbestos, you can encapsulate it or lay a flooring over it, but because it was wet, it had to come up. And so the floor tiles had to come up because there was water underneath the existing floor tiles. What we hope from this claim is, obviously no one wants to have a disaster like this happen, but for the owner of this property, this building that we're standing in now was, at the time, was unoccupied, and they're planning on leasing it out to another company, so that way they've got a clean slate so that when another company comes in, they can occupy it and they're built up relatively easily.